All right, hey everybody, thanks for being here today. Of course, if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, thanks very much, I appreciate that. We're streaming the Friday Fahles live today. And just a quick reminder, the new podcast is up and running at Deadline Detroit. It's available just about anywhere you can get podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon, we're on iTunes, Google, TuneIn, and Spotify. And also, of course, it's available every day at DeadlineDetroit.com, which is a great place to go anyway. So just check all that stuff out, because there's lots of really good news coverage that takes place there. They know the stuff that matters, they know the stuff that's important, and they analyze it in a way that the newspapers aren't doing. So it's a lot of fun. It's a good spot to go and check out. So please, check out my new home of Deadline Detroit. I like it very much, and thank you for checking this out. We're going to, of course, edit this part out at the beginning, because this is going to run as a podcast a little bit later on today, but we wanted you to get it live right now. So anyway, we will begin. And I always do a little countdown to begin here in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome everybody, I'm Craig Fahle. We are live at the Buell Bar in downtown Detroit, and it is Friday, which means it's time for the Friday Fahles, our weekly take on the light-hearted side of news, I guess. I don't know, it's not really light stuff this week.
Not feeling
some of it is,
lighthearted.
but no, not really, and certainly I wouldn't be if I was in Washington, D.C. right now.
No.
But that is Nancy Derringer from Deadline Detroit that you were hearing right there.
Yep.
And making a return for the Friday Fahles is my friend Saeed, who of course is a lecturer at Wayne State University in Near East and Far East Studies, and of course, expert on all things.
The smartest man in the world.
About the smartest man in the world, absolutely. And a funny
Yeah.
guy, too, which is why he's here on a Friday. And he's also, of course, a professor at Rochester College as well. So thank you for being here. Welcome back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, near, far, wherever you are, to quote Celine Dion.
There you go. Wow.
He goes from
Really,
like
you had to go
Celine
there to the
Dion
greatest
to,
singer
like,
in the world right there. Right there.
Pakistani politics, just like that.
Oh, she's big there.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure she is. I'm sure she is.
Oh boy. Okay, let's start. We mentioned Washington, D.C. We are in the midst of a government shutdown. I said Happy New Year, but at the same time, if you are a federal worker, it has not been a Happy New Year so far. You either have been working without getting paid, or you have been furloughed without getting paid.
Right.
Today is the first day of checks that are not showing up in people's.
Some people's, yeah.
Well,
No,
there are a lot of people with direct deposit. It's not there today, and
No.
you know, I just think of the hassle that I would have to go through. If the direct deposit's not there, you have to switch all your payments, all these auto payments things that people are doing right now. You have to talk to every one of your creditors. Some of them are going to be receptive, but most of them don't care. They're like, "Where's my money?"
Right.
And I think that was my favorite line from Goodfellas: "F you, where's my money?"
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That's basically what's going on for
F
these
you,
people
pay
right
If
me.
you
now.
pay me.
If
Yeah.
you pay me, that's right. That's exactly right. I got it wrong. Oh God, I've only seen that movie 1,000 times. But you know, I've been through that situation where a check you were expecting doesn't show up. Thank you. You know who you are. And you know, it's a really, really bad position to put people in. And now we've got
It's terrible.
800,000 people that are at risk of having their credit ratings get destroyed, payments not go through. For what? What is this happening for? Have we figured out? Is this really just about a freaking wall?
Well, that's a good question, and depending on who you talk to, I think that is kind of what it is about. And it's about a lot of things. And if you really want to look on the bright side, as we were just humming a few minutes ago, you know, you would say, look at all these people who are willing to show up and do essential jobs without being paid. I mean, yes, they're going to get, you know, eventually the government will reopen, they'll get that big check, but they have every reason to just not show up at all, and yet they are. And then add to them the volunteers who are, you know, keeping the national parks from turning into literal, you know, sewage dumps. And we live in a great country full of wonderful people. Unfortunately, we are led by some terrible people. So, at the moment anyway.
Who are getting paid.
Who are getting paid.
Yeah, that's funny how that works.
Yeah, I know.
But, you know, look, the TSA agents they're about an open revolt. I mean, they don't make enough
yeah.
money to deal with the frustration they have to deal with every day anyway.
Right.
And so this is a pretty
But the air
dangerous
traffic
situation.
controllers, you know, you think of all these people who really do essential jobs that aren't getting anything. It's,
There are airports that are closing concourses because TSA agents are not showing up to work.
right.
And it really is terrible for essential workers more than non-essential workers. Non-essential workers wouldn't have to show up, and they might be able to pick up some jobs on the side.
They don't know. A lot of them are not allowed to even look for work while they're
Oh.
furloughed. That's a rule that's out there right now. I just heard that this
Okay.
morning.
Wow.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so they're not even allowed to go out and get part-time jobs.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you know, you have a situation where you have a bunch of people who are idled for no reason other than Oh, that would be the ice maker, by the way. Okay. We are live at the Buell Bar, by the way.
Is that an actual person making ice, or is that a machine?
That's right. There's a guy back there with a chisel. No, but you've got a bunch of people who are just not able to do anything right now, and they're stuck in limbo over what is a vanity project. I mean, let's be honest.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
President Trump has insisted on a wall. People have been trying to explain that, well, maybe it's metaphorical, maybe it's not really a wall, but then the president keeps saying wall.
Why does he keep saying wall? And that's, I mean, this to me it's very clear cut for me. This is the Democrats have said from the beginning, border security, yeah, we'll talk to you. You know, let's talk about border security. Let's reopen the government first. But this guy who sold himself on the campaign trail as this master negotiator, he can't get there because he thinks negotiation means you go in and you pound the table and you say, I want this, and if I don't get this, we're leaving, and that's what he did this week.
Well, the classic example of where you don't need a wall because the existing security works is, I don't know, the White House.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Well, there is a fence around it, though.
Yes.
But a fence is not a wall.
No, a fence is not a wall.
A fence is not a wall. But
Right.
now, you know, there has really been no movement on this. But the funny thing is, we're getting to the absolutely ridiculous point of this when Donald Trump came out just the other day and said, hey, I never said Mexico was going to pay for the wall.
Right.
You know, I never said they were going to write a check, but there have been 212 instances. Of course, the fact checkers were digging through every campaign speech. 212 instances where he said, who's going to pay for the wall? Mexico. Mexico's going to pay for the wall. And they're probably just going to write me a check. That's exactly what he said.
Exactly. And that's because a wall is a cartoon solution to a very complex problem made by a cartoon candidate during a cartoon campaign that, through the help of, you know, parties that Robert Mueller is still looking into, somehow became president. And now we're having this debate over this solution that nobody wants. I mean, a few people want, but not enough people want. And they had 2 years to get this thing done when they wouldn't have had to deal with Nancy Pelosi over this, and it didn't get done then, which tells you that everyone in Washington knows this is a joke, but they're, you know, we still got people sitting at home not getting paid.
Well, this is what happens when an entire generation of Americans grows up without Saturday morning cartoons.
Why is that?
Well, they needed a substitute, and so they elected a cartoon president.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, this thing is getting, though, pretty stupid, and again, it's gonna drag on. I don't see this guy backing down. He doesn't want this to be the read my lips, no new taxes moment, where you basically break your main campaign promise.
He painted himself into a corner.
Yes.
But let's face it, I mean, what happened to the legislative branch of government? What happened to oversight, checks and balances? This is really McConnell. I mean, McConnell won't even allow a floor vote. I have a suspicion that enough Republicans, both in the House as well as in the Senate, would go past a veto and have something that could override a potential veto, even if it comes down to the president's desk. McConnell doesn't want it. He is cuckolded. I don't know how much of that has to do with the fact that his wife is the Secretary of Transportation and is on Trump's payroll, but this is really a miscarriage of democracy.
What about the option of the emergency declaration that he is floating out there, potentially utilizing the military or perhaps funds that were supposed to be slated for disaster relief to build this wall?
Okay, so what happens then? I mean, you know that this 2,000 miles that we're talking about fencing or walling or whatever, it runs through a great deal of private property.
Yes,
you know,
most of Texas is private property.
Eminent domain issues take years to resolve. What are we going to do? Just walk in there and seize it in the name of the crown? I mean,
Under police power, you have inverse condemnation, and if it is declared a national emergency, then technically speaking, they do not have to provide compensation. Matty Marone.
Yeah, good luck with that, because you know, you're going to mess with a bunch of private property owners and ranchers down in Texas. You think the Bundys are bad out west?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my word.
Oh, I know. If you're
especially if there's no compensation involved, and you're just taking, because these ranch lands that are out there in some of these rural parts of Texas. I mean, people have been going across those borders with these herds for years.
Some of these ranches are bigger than the state of Rhode Island.
Right.
I mean, just to give some context about how much land is involved here, yeah.
Just to jog people's memory about, you know, President Trump yesterday did say, I never said that Mexico was going to pay for it or write a check, but here's what he said. This was basically what he said when he came down the escalator at Trump Tower announcing his candidacy. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
Okay, we marked him.
We marked him.
We marked him.
And now we're challenging him.
Right.
So we're there. But anyway, it's ridiculous. The speech the other night I thought was unnecessary.
We heard
and then
that
the rebuttal was unnecessary. But I felt like I was switching between, Fox News and MSNBC.
Without
is all
having
it was.
to touch the remote.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's what it was.
It was like having a blended partisan news channel, right?
A mashup.
We call it faux NBC. What?
Whatever.
I think that works.
Well, and
Anyway.
the thing is, if he had any political capital to spend at this point, he might be able to get away with some sort of compromise. But he's built his brand on never backing down, on insulting everyone within the sound of his voice. I mean, if I were Nancy Pelosi, I'd tell him to stuff it too,
Well, we'll see. At some point, somebody's going to have to give because, things are going to start being really negatively impacted. And I'll tell you what, if the TSA agents just say, screw this, we're not going to show up at work, you start messing with the flight system here.
Oh, yeah.
Average people start getting hit by this because most of them
Huge
don't see it
problems.
yet, but they will see it
Flights,
soon.
food inspection.
Well,
I mean,
who needs that?
I know.
Who needs that, especially? Well, you know why you're not going to need that much longer? Because Costco has solved that problem. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the Follies here.
Costco solves all my
free
problems.
samples all the time.
But let's talk about famous people in Twitter in a different way. Dan Gilbert.
Yeah.
Dan Gilbert, of course, of Quicken Loans fame, and of course the rebuilder of this downtown area, and very responsible for a lot of what's happening down here. There was a report that the Detroit Free Press put out there that was very, very critical, shall we say, about his adherence to MIOSHA standards.
It was accurate.
And
shall
whether
we
or
say.
not he put pressure on the state to relax those standards for his projects.
Right.
And that's basically what they were alleging. He came back and basically slammed Jennifer Dixon at the Detroit Free Press, who I've known for a long time and have known to be a very, very thorough reporter. I dealt with her a lot at the land bank. Trust me, she goes through the records. She knows what she's doing. But he said, here's his quote. He said, quote, "My recommended 60-second video training for Freep reporter Jennifer Dixon and all higher-ups at the struggling local media outlet. If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you are misinformed." And there's a link to a Denzel Washington interview, and Denzel said something along those lines just very recently.
And Denzel Washington is one of our leading public intellectuals, so I totally get that one. What a small thing to say. I mean, you are a billionaire. You've got communications people who know how to respond to stories like this. It's like, if you think that this is the way to do it, I feel a little testy today.
So
This
you,
is like,
No, that's right.
So you're saying that his follow-up tweet that said "King Kong ain't got shit on me," superfluous? Okay.
But at the same time, I mean, for a guy like Dan Gilbert, that's one of those. Okay, right. If you wanna rebut the things in the story,
Sure.
put out some stuff that says where you're meeting the standards or why she's wrong.
Right.
But don't just sit there and say that the newspaper's awful and that they're terrible and they're struggling, because you do sound very Donald Trumpian in that situation when you say fake news. This is the fake news route.
This is fake news in so many words.
Well,
And I'm sorry, but the boy who cried wolf thing is kind of played out at this point.
I think it is.
Well,
it has-
also the need to actually get out there and have it out in public on social media. You're powerful enough, you own half of downtown, go over to, for example, the Free Press building and either have a meeting with the editorial board
right.
or buy the building.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good idea. He does own the building.
Oh,
He
Free
does
Press
own the
building.
building.
That's right, he does.
He's their
I have a
landlord.
feeling the rate's going up.
No,
Right.
he's their landlord.
But, I mean, Dan Gilbert, this is not new for him, though. He is also one of these people that likes to duke it out on Twitter. And Deadline Detroit has a great story today talking about a bunch of other times where he has done something similar. So
Actually, I think the caller ID on that phone that you heard was Dan Gilbert.
it could have been. It could have been. Cut that feed right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a rocket fiber building. If it is, we might be in trouble. But, so,
And that was a legit story. That was not something that was, I mean, there were some anonymous sources in it, but these were people who had every reason to be anonymous. It was well reported. It was based on public records. There were emails in there. I mean, there was an awful lot in there that was absolutely substantive. And for him to, and Jennifer Dixon, I had an editor who said, when Jennifer Dixon gets you in her sight, somebody's going to jail. I don't know if that's the case in this case, but the point is that she is an extremely thorough And one of the best investigative
I have
reporters.
also found her to be actually very honest about things too. She will dig up a lot of things and dig through them all and ask me a million questions. She did this when I was working across the street.
Right.
And if there was nothing there, she didn't report it.
Right. Sure.
And she was very honest, and I thought good to work with. We established a really, really good working relationship after a while.
Yeah.
Because it just, tell me
If
what you
you-
want, I'll help you find it.
And
that's what
she's
you're
learned-
supposed to do when you deal with the press.
She's learned what every, journalist and anybody who occasionally has to deal with people in adversarial situations should learn very early on, which is if you're a straight shooter and if you play it straight and if you're honest, it will pay off throughout your career. And
Well, I think we have to call this what it is. This is bullying.
Yeah.
The fact that somebody with that kind of clout can then go ahead and muscle one of the two main newspapers in a city, which are always the sentinels for holding up truth, holding up objective journalism, to come in here and essentially strong arm her is all
Bush
too
League.
uncommon.
Yeah.
No, but it's also all too common, I should say.
Sure.
That, this is happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I should remind folks, this is the Friday Follies on Deadline Detroit. Thank you very much for being with us today. Nancy Derringer from Deadline Detroit is with me, as is my friend Saeed Khan from Wayne State University and Rochester University, and Rochester College, excuse me.
They're looking to make it a university.
That would be there is quite a significant difference there that people don't realize. But anyway, let's move to Iowa, shall we?
Okay, let's not.
One of my
One
of my favorite politicians, and I say that very facetiously, is a guy named Steve King. He's represented Western Iowa for a long time. He is facing a potential censure motion in Congress. I'm shocked that this is like the first time that he's dealing with this, potentially, given some of his past statements that he has made. But he was doing an interview with the New York Times.
Of all people, of
New York Times.
all outlets to be talking to.
And so, they were talking about nationalism, white supremacy, and things like that. And he said, here's what he said. He said, when did the terms white nationalist, white supremacist, and Western civilization become offensive? Well,
really? What's so bad about
thinking to
that?
myself,
That wasn't a rhetorical question?
well, but he just said, what did I learn in school about how great our country is all these years then? I was like, okay, hold on a second.
All right. Well,
What classes were you going to, first of all?
Let's cut Western civilization out of that herd, because that's just a factual descriptor. It's the white supremacy and white nationalism.
Well, but the Western civilization thing is also a reference to white history.
It has become that, but we cannot allow white supremacists to co-opt a perfectly fine neutral term, Western civilization. That we got to take that back from them. And I am staking claim. I am taking back Western civ. But white supremacy and white nationalism, is he that obtuse? Is this what happens when people live in these kind of filter bubbles where they only, they're surrounded by butt kissers and they only take in the news that they already know they're going to like? Is that what happens to them when they start to say shit like
Well, this is
Excuse my
Iowa.
language.
This is Iowa, so he probably only went to the Field of Dreams to see the white players.
Well, they're probably. I didn't see any black players on that team.
It's funny, whenever these guys,
They weren't allowed in the league back then when all those old players were playing there.
But James Earl was there.
Well, that's true.
when these alt-right Proud Boy types start talking about white culture, I always want to ask them, like, can you define white culture to me? Because what is it, wrestling? Is it,
No, because the
NASCAR?
Sheik was a wrestler, so no, not necessarily.
No, okay. What about NASCAR? Is that, there's got to be some black fans.
The Iron Sheik, though, represented the entire Middle East. He represented Arabian countries and Iranian countries, which of course were diametrically opposed to each other.
Sure.
But that's okay, because
Yeah.
for Middle America, i.e. Iowa, it's all the same.
Many years ago, I walked past a travel agency in Paris, France, my only trip to Paris. And they had, this is back before the internet, they had travel posters.
Yeah.
And the travel poster for the United States featured a cowboy on a bucking horse. So,
Nice.
And as an Ohioan at the time, I thought, well, you don't see too many of those in Ohio, but
Well, we'll
Not
forgive
exactly
your
the same. Not
Ohio-ness.
exactly.
That's okay. Sorry about
it's a
that.
native.
But anyway, so he could actually get in a little bit of trouble.
Good.
So Justin Amash, who continues to surprise me, of course, a Michigan congressperson, just
Yeah.
because he's not afraid to say what's on his mind when it comes to stuff, especially if it's going against his own party. But what did he call it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. He said an embrace of racism. That's what he called it. He said it was King's embrace of racism on Twitter. that's basically calling it out. Now, there was a statement that came out from King's office where he said, I totally disavow white nationalism and white supremacy and all that kind of stuff.
That thing I just said, I didn't mean to say it.
I know, but the RNCC is just like, you know what? We're tired of this stuff from this guy, and he got a primary challenger that's already announced that he's going to challenge him in the primary in Iowa. And who knows? Maybe Steve King's time is coming to an end.
It's entirely
Well,
possible.
I mean, I haven't heard the kind of hue and cry from Ronna that really should happen. I mean, given the fact that, okay, I get it, Paul Ryan is no longer the Speaker of the House, so you can make an argument that Republican leadership no longer exists. But you've got Scalise, you've got Kevin McCarthy. Somebody should.
McCarthy spoke up about it real fast. The RNCC was right up against it too. So they're all like, nope, we can't have this. I mean, look, they were already ticked off after Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Right? And now, of course, this is the one thing they don't need is to just, be the party of white nationalism.
Well, there's going to be an alt-right march in Princeton, New Jersey this weekend, so it's not stopping.
Huh.
Wow.
In Princeton?
In Princeton, yeah.
It's going to be cold this weekend, too, It's a strange place to have it, but okay, whatever.
Well,
I guess
you
it's
gotta
warmer
push
than
the buttons,
Yale.
right?
Okay,
You gotta
I guess you're right.
push the buttons. That's just like the Nazis marched in Skokie. It's the same kind of thing. You gotta push the buttons.
Yeah.
Illinois Nazis.
Illinois Nazis.
All right.
All right, so let's move on here to some other subjects here. I wanted to get into this one because you gotta love Candace Miller. Of course, former Secretary of State,
She's
and former
great.
Congresswoman. She's now the Macomb County Drain Commissioner.
Public Works, please.
Well,
yeah, I know. I know what you're saying. Public Works Commissioner.
Public
She's
Works
in charge
Administrator.
of
She's in charge of
the stuff that's under the ground.
yeah,
for the
stuff
most part.
that most of us don't like to
That's
think
quite
about.
a metaphor.
And for good reason, we don't like to think about these things.
Right.
Because we had this massive sinkhole that took place on Christmas Eve in 2016. Apparently been brewing for a couple of years under there.
Yep.
Because they'd done some damage to the pipe. And the reason that they damaged the pipe, they were doing some work on the inside, and you shut off all the flow to that pipe so people don't drown in there while they're trying to work. Makes a lot of sense.
Drowning poo.
But
Yeah.
normally what you do when you reopen those gates, stuff backs up behind it, but you open up the gates and you let it come in slowly.
Right.
Now, they didn't. They just let it all flow in at once.
Homer
And I love the
Simpson was in
phrase.
charge that day.
That's right. I love the phrase she used in her press conference the other day to announce their findings of human error, that they released a tsunami of waste.
Yeah, exactly.
Now being called the Poonami.
The Poonami, right, exactly. Well,
barely-
Okay, be careful how you pronounce that for several reasons.
Well,
there's
Would you like me to show you where the syllables are separated?
well, as I said before, I got to give her credit because Candace Miller came into a extremely well, I don't want to get into that, but Candace Miller has approached this job exactly like you would want somebody to do it, with a total professionalism, and yet she always has this kind of singing canary of humor sort of circling her head, and to call this thing a tsunami is, that's great. That got her in, we're talking about it, that got her on the front pages of the papers. She knows how to deliver a soundbite.
well, and when's the last time anybody from that type of department was on the front page of the paper?
Exactly. She's so overqualified for that job. So,
Well, but you know what, though? Think about it. When you look at the infrastructure needs that we have in this country, I think we need people that are smart in those jobs because they're really hard to do, and there's a lot of work we have to do. We've been ignoring it for a long time.
I'm giving this idea away free to anybody who wants to pick it up off the ground. The next campaign, somebody needs to run as "Vote for me, I am a career politician." Because seriously,
I don't
it's
disagree.
like, haven't we seen enough amateurs now? Don't we have in the Oval Office, we have the biggest amateur of all who thinks that running government, it's easy. It's not easy.
Well,
it requires
or running it like a business,
I'm
because
going to run it like a business.
everything government does is not designed to make money.
Exactly.
Like clearing human waste out of our houses, and you don't even have to think about it. That's not something that makes a lot of money for us.
No, it isn't. And the idea that you run it like a business, it's like saying I'm gonna ride this horse like it's a dog. It's just they're two different things.
Well, if "Fix the Damn Roads" was a good enough slogan, then "Fix the Damn Pipes" I think can also work.
Yeah.
But I think that for someone like Candace Miller, she should really equate this with the broader discussion of infrastructure and the president of her own party trying to divert funds for other unnecessary things.
She is a good Republican, though, so
Yeah.
I don't expect her to do that just yet.
No, but
why I
at the
said
same
if.
time, the one thing that's good about this, and I firmly believe this, is it is bringing
The
people's
punami?
attention to the stuff, yes,
Oh.
that is actually happening underneath the ground. It's out of sight, out of mind. And
That's
we've
good?
been ignoring. No, I'm saying it's actually bringing it to light.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
People
Yeah,
are paying
no,
attention now. They're
absolutely.
seeing that, houses sank into the ground from this
Yeah,
thing.
I
People,
know.
a bunch of people lost their homes.
If we don't pay attention to infrastructure in this country, and there have been like decades of what they call disinvestment, we're going to be in a world of what. So,
That's
you know,
exactly right.
but anyway,
The punami will be
Yeah.
something that happens to a lot more of us
Yeah.
at some point in time.
I'm just ticking off topics on my little cocktail napkin here.
Oh
so-
yeah, am I getting all right? Have I got everything?
Yeah,
I definitely wanted to get to. How about this one? I hinted at this a little bit earlier, and I'm not sure the world needs this,
Yes, it does.
but Costco, where you can buy everything in bulk,
Yes.
including the giant thing of toilet paper that's likely going to be necessary after you buy this. A 26-pound bucket of mac and cheese that has a 20-year shelf life.
Yep.
I mean, I've had macaroni and cheese in the last year or so, but
But it's not dry.
I had kids,
It's
so,
not like Kraft macaroni and cheese where you.
I'm not sure.
You add
They
water?
did not describe, and I was on the Costco page looking at this earlier. It's
Out of stock.
$89.99 for this, for a 26-pound bucket of mac and cheese, which is probably a bargain.
Like that's going to
4
last 20 years in any house.
4.7 stars.
Okay.
4.7 stars. Well, you know what? It does last, though, if you've got a bunker underneath the ground.
What about the
and you're waiting for the end of the
yeah,
world.
we're prepping.
So, yeah, that's right. The doomsday preppers are there.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you need to learn how to pace yourself.
But you also then, so basically what I love in the description about this, one, it's out of stock.
Yeah, of course.
And it's got 4.7 stars on
Hell
the
yeah,
Costco
that
page.
thing's going to go fast.
But the great thing about it was the easy-to-open zip-seal Metalite pouches. Apparently that's trademarked. And then it says the cheese and pasta are packaged in separate bulk Metalite pouches with oxygen absorbers to protect the quality and ensure a long shelf life.
Okay, I get what this is. This is like this isn't like Kraft with the cheese powder. It's like Velveeta box mac and cheese.
Shells
with the
and cheese.
with the cheese.
So it's deluxe
Yeah,
mac
so
and
it's like cheese product in a sealed pouch. And then you mentioned sealed pouches. So it's not like you just open the tub and stick in a fork.
Well,
although as tempting as that may be for some of us.
it doesn't say. So the cheese and pasta, is the pasta already cooked? There's no description of it there. So I haven't been able to find this out.
I know some women with PMS who are like already putting in like I want that stuff and. Yeah.
26 pounds of macaroni and cheese, because that's what America needs.
Exactly.
All right, in the ironic story of the week, I didn't tell you guys about this one in advance, but this was great. CES, of course, just is going on in Vegas, right? Consumer Electronics Show. It just ended, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yes, it did.
But here's the great one. There was a company that was showing off an autonomous robot, and it got run over by a self-driving Tesla.
Win-win.
The robot was destroyed by a self-driving Tesla. So, I'm sorry, but the autopilot is not quite perfected yet on
No,
these
it's
things.
not.
And the autonomous
No.
robot, you'd think, might have been able to sense and not cross the street if it had these sensors on there. But not a great look for either company as they're getting ready for CES to show off their new tech.
I don't know that the robot comes up too badly because I don't know what this robot was doing. What was it doing?
But the company's called Promobot. So
Okay.
it was crossing the street.
That's all? It was crossing the street?
It was,
Okay.
and so
Holding a
it was
25-pound
it was on the sort of
bag
on
of
the
mac
side
and
of the
cheese.
road, kind of on the side of the road, and the Tesla just didn't see it, plowed it right over. So danger,
Well, I
Will
think
Robinson.
the Tesla was texting, and Musk, I think, is being sued for wrongful death. So
That's right. That's right. Well, it depends on how
Good one.
how good was the artificial intelligence in this thing. Are we at iRobot yet? 'Cause wasn't that like the theme of that? Are the robots human enough to
but
face
that's the
murder
thing.
charges?
But I mean, if it didn't get an upgrade that was needed in order for it to spot the autonomous robot, unless they have a history going back to the lab that they didn't really like each other, and so the Tesla was looking out for that robot the whole time.
All right, we got just a few minutes left here on the Friday Follies, and I want to get to a couple more stories here. But like I said, that was somewhat ironic at CES of all places where this would happen. But
Good
I
one.
suppose where else would there be a Russian robot and a Tesla
A Russian? Oh,
it's a Russian
robot?
company. Yeah.
Oh,
That explains a lot.
That changes
Okay.
everything.
it does. Why didn't you
That's
mention
right.
this before? Okay.
Do we go with do we go to Florida yet, or do we hold on? Because it's actually kind
It's
of a
very
creepy
cold
story.
outside. I think we should go to Florida.
All right, let's go to this guy. This one was kind of strange.
This guy's on my cocktail
This was a
napkin.
California man. So this one's pretty good. California man is facing charges after he was caught licking a homeowner's intercom system for hours. Just stood there licking
it.
the intercom outside their door, and they have him on the camera. And you can see the guy just sitting
Yeah.
there licking it.
Yeah.
And the family's sort of like, who is this guy? They're watching from a remote location. Who is this guy, and why is he licking the thing? So he is facing charges. Although, what would you charge somebody with for doing that?
My guess would be that this man is probably has like some sort of OCD thing, but I also think that Ring doorbell cameras are the American version of Russian dash cams. I mean, you're gonna start trading like greatest hits videos on YouTube before long.
I think so too. But
Yeah.
so the charges were prowling and a probation violation.
Prowling and
so
licking? Okay. Oh, he was on probation.
He was
Okay.
prowling, but yeah, well, it's a violation of his probation.
Got it.
Not
He's on
vagrancy,
probation.
nothing like
But
that.
here's the great thing. He's also facing a charge of theft after police accused him of stealing Christmas light extension cords at the same home.
I wonder if he was licking those. That's a good question.
I don't know.
He must have something about
Jeez,
like
go find a
electricity.
toad to lick or
Who
something
knows?
like
Yeah.
that.
But you
You're
see,
probably
if
having fun.
that's AI anywhere on that, then that's non-consensual. That's assault.
That's interesting.
Never thought of that. That's a good point.
Okay, and here's a great story. This one actually is kind of a local angle here. There's a family that owns a cat in Dearborn, and the cat likes to go outside and sometimes will roam for a little while and not always come back. Cats are wont to do these types of things.
Yeah.
They get a call that somebody had found their cat. The cat was all the way in Tampa, Florida. They're not sure how it got there, but they had a chip in the cat.
Yeah.
And this veterinarian's like, somebody just dropped off your cat, and
We just chipped it. We read its
we
chip.
found your
and-
cat. And they're like, oh, great, we'll come pick it up. They're like, well, the cat's in Florida. And so the people are like, what? They're not sure. They think maybe the cat got into a moving van.
Yeah. Or
And-
somebody just took a shine to it and let it in their car. Although cats don't ride well in cars, so I have
No,
no idea.
I've driven a cat from Florida to Detroit. It was my mom's cat.
It was miserable.
That thing didn't shut up the whole
Oh,
way.
of course. Yeah, I know. So it probably. Yeah, I would think the moving van is the better. Is the better.
I think
option.
Spirit Airlines.
Well, the great thing is that somebody just offered to fly it home for them. So they're coming back to Detroit,
Oh.
and they're flying the cat home. So they're going to get it.
That's a perfect excuse to take a little short Florida vacation too.
Well, no. The cat probably was impersonating an emotional support animal and got on board a flight.
It's entirely possible.
If you can bring a peacock on board, then why not a cat?
And no folly should be complete without a visit to Florida.
Okay.
Again,
Of course.
that was in Florida technically, but it wasn't.
Okay.
But it
We
wasn't
always have
human.
Florida man. Florida man is like
This is Michigan cat.
this week's
was
Florida man.
Michigan cat displaced, yeah.
This
This
is
is Florida woman.
Florida woman. So an ambulance gets called. Police get called to this house where this man has apparently fallen and is severely injured.
And can't get up?
Well, that's what they think.
Okay.
They think they can't get up. But then they started doing a little bit of research and they realized that actually his wife, who is 86 years old, beat him to death with her cane.
Did he beat him to death?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is he dead?
He's definitely
Is he very
dead.
dead?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's definitely. He was
I think-
89 years old.
Okay.
She was 86.
Okay.
They're wondering whether or not she has some mental issues, which is entirely possible.
And
at the
I,
age
of course, would
86.
wonder what did he do to deserve it.
I think he was going to leave her for a younger.
Question. It's a legitimate question.
I think he was going to leave her for a younger woman who was 85.
That's right.
Beat
But
him to
so-
death with a cane. Man, what a way to go.
But I love
how long we've been married.
the sheriff Bob Johnson from Santa
I
Rosa
wonder how
County,
many
Florida.
shots it took.
He's has a news conference on Monday, and he says, we're probably dealing with somebody's grandmother now. It's not something that happens every day.
No, absolutely.
And so an 86-year-old woman who maybe has dementia, what happens to
yeah.
an 86-year-old woman with dementia? She murdered somebody.
yeah.
You can't just leave her in the house. You can't just say there's nothing going on, but you
I
can't
think
really
there's-
lock her up for a long time.
I think there's probably, what do you call it?
History?
No, not a history. I think there's probably an alternative.
Well-
For, like some sort of secured, locked facility where she could not. That's not a prison. So That's just me, though.
Well,
You mean
hey.
like an assisted care living facility?
Yeah, like a nursing home, basically.
Which,
I mean, how much longer is she going to live? She's not the queen. So.
well, you know, you never know.
So I just
You
take
never
away
know.
her
She may now have a
shuffleboard?
second shot at life. Maybe this guy was dragging her down. Maybe she's like,
Holding me back.
there you go. You don't know. But she's got a court appearance coming up. They're going to give her a mental evaluation first
Okay.
of all, but we shall see.
Okay.
Anyway, that wraps up the Fahles for today. Nancy, thank you very much for being back. Saeed, I appreciate it very much. See, we get a little bit of real analysis, but also have a little bit of fun at the same time. And thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we didn't talk about the auto prom.
Oh, are you going to auto prom?
I'm going to auto prom. I have
I've
to
never
decide
once
whether
been to
to
auto
wear
prom.
the same dress that I've worn for the last 2 years or to hit the peacock room and find something else cooler.
Well, there you go.
We'll see.
Rachel,
So-
you might have a customer coming in.
Oh,
You've got black on all the time anyway, so a tux is not a stretch for you.
Yeah, but no corsage.
Okay, very good. It would look pretty, though.
Except for the auto prom, they've got to close the night out with Gary Newman's Cars.
You know, they should just bring in Gary
I
Newman as the
never last
entertainment
that
one
long.
time. That
I
would
know.
be fantastic.
I never last
Well,
long
then for
enough
you,
that.
Nancy, we'll play it right up front.
All right, all right, all right. That wraps it up. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you for watching the Friday Follies on Deadline Detroit. We appreciate it. And check out the podcast Monday through Thursday that I'm doing each and every day. You can find that at Deadline Detroit or anywhere else you get your podcasts. It's a half an hour each day. It's a lot of fun. You can listen to it on your commute and get through the whole thing each day, which is what I'd love. Tell your friends. Let's
5
get this thing
stars.
moving.
He's a great talker.
Thank
So,
you.
mhm.
I
I'm
think they figured that
subscribing.
out. At least
Yeah.
I hope they figured that out.
Yeah.
But we appreciate everybody. And thank you for checking us out today. Really enjoying myself. And have a great, great weekend. Thanks.